Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Thursday, May 29, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, Guyana likely to be fourth or blacklisted for non-passage of AML CFT bill. U.S. citizens remanded for cocaine found in frozen fish. Security forces pledged their allegiance to PNC government. Attorneys accuse insurance companies of unfair practice. Hotel tower strike action called off. And private sector chairman upset over handling of Berbice River Bridge investment. Now for the news in detail. We start off by telling you that the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force has referred Guyana to the International Financial Action Task Force after the country failed to pass its anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism bill. The entity has also called on countries to take sterner action against Guyana by beefing up its security against threats from money laundering and terrorism here. Alexis Rodney reports.
As a result of not meeting the agreed timelines in its action plan, the CFTF has recognized Guyana as a jurisdiction with significant AML-CFT deficiencies, which has failed to make any progress in addressing them. CFTF has therefore considered Guyana to be at risk to the international financial system. According to Government of Guyana statement, countermeasures could entail the requirement of enhanced due diligence measures, introducing enhanced reporting mechanisms or systematic reporting of financial transactions, refusing the establishment of subsidiaries or branches or representative offices in the country concerned. In November 2011, the CFTF brought to the attention of its members certain jurisdictions, including Guyana, with significant strategic deficiencies in their AML-CFT regime. With a view to encouraging quick rectification of the identified strategic deficiencies, Guyana and the CFTF developed an action plan with identified targets, dates to address the strategic deficiencies that exist in Guyana's national architecture to combat money laundering and the financing of terrorism. The CFTF urges Guyana to urgently, immediately, and meaningfully address its AML-CFT deficiencies, in particular by fully criminalizing money laundering and terrorist finances offenses, addressing all of the requirements on beneficial ownership, and strengthening the requirements for suspicious transaction reporting. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh today told this newscast that it will take a Herculean effort for Guyana to emerge from this dilemma, as he strongly laid the blame at the feet of the opposition. Swatlana Marshall reports.
It is unfortunate that Guyana has been referred to the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh said minutes after the closing ceremony of the Caribbean Development Bank's 44th meeting of the Board of Governors. While this is a major disappointment, Dr. Singh told the press this new development comes as no surprise. He explained that the opposition on countless occasions was cautioned on the negative impacts that can face the country if the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism amendment bill was not passed in the National Assembly.
This really is the inevitable consequence of the opposition's refusal to enact a CFATF compliant bill. And the responsibility for this lies squarely and the responsibility for the advisory issued by CFATF today lies squarely and firmly in the hands of and at the feet of the opposition.
In November 2011, Guyana and Belize were identified as countries with strategic deficiencies in their AML-CFT regimes and were therefore mandated to put corrective measures in place. But while Belize has made progress in this regard, Guyana lacks the political will to safeguard its citizens from the draconian measures that will accompany the word blacklisted.
We have said repeatedly, this matter goes to the core of the integrity of our financial system. You cannot trifle, you cannot gamble with the integrity of your financial system. We could argue about the other things politically and what they want and what we want and what compromises can be reached and so on. But neither party can take a position, no responsible leadership should take a position that results in the integrity of a country's financial system, a country's credibility to the rest of the world being tarnished and affected in this manner. We have seen examples elsewhere.
The consequences of Guyana being handed over to FATF will be severe, the finance minister said, noting that thousands of Guyanese will be affected, in addition to the private sector.
Well, the truth is there are business people today who are already affected because they cannot execute their transactions, they cannot make international payments. Their international payments are being delayed. They're staff of international agencies. They're staff of the CARICOM Secretariat who have said to our foreign ministry, we are already affected because we're trying to make an international payment and it's being delayed. There are people being affected right now. There are people who have said to me, my remittance charges have gone up. And my family tried to send me $100 and the charge to send that $100 went up because the remittance company had to scrutinize this transaction for longer and had to do greater due diligence on the transaction. You saw what the statement said. The statement called clearly for the international community to exercise greater due diligence on transactions with Guyana. And so this dismissal of the consequences by the opposition is nothing short of irresponsible.
In June, FATF will meet and determine whether Guyana should be subject to a prima facie review by the International Cooperation Review Board. Guyana could land itself in any of the 3 blacklisting tiers. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
The Alliance for Change, the AFC, today said it believes that the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Amendment Bill could be passed within 72 hours if there is the political will to make it happen. The party proposes that a process to fast-track the establishment of the Public Procurement Commission could be implemented, with the Public Accounts Committee selecting 5 nominees at its next meeting. These 5 names can then be submitted to the National Assembly for approval by a 2/3 majority. The AFC said once the House approves the nominees, they can be appointed by the President. Following this, the AFC said it would have no hesitation in giving its support for the passage of the AML-CFT bill. Meanwhile, in this report, you'll hear that a senior government official is refuting claims made by Leader of the Opposition, David Granger, in an article that he wrote in the May 28 edition of the Kaicho News. More in this report.
A senior government official is refuting claims made by the Leader of the Opposition, David Granger, in an article he wrote in the Kaicho News on May 28, 2014, over the non-passage of the Anti-Money Laundering, Countering and Financing Terrorism Bill. The official stated that his article was written in desperate attempt to save face over the opposition's irresponsible behavior, and now his credibility has now been brought into disregard. It was stated the AML bill was before Parliament since April 2013, and the opposition is responsible for the non-passage of the bill, which was voted down in November 2013 using their 1-seat majority. Undoubtedly, the APNU and AFC non-support of the bill is unpatriotic, the official stated. Despite the threats that Guyana faces severe consequences, the opposition remains unmoved, unconcerned, and unmindful of the negative effects on the country's social and economic gains and the hardships on Guyanese. The senior official explained that CFTF reviews have taken into consideration Guyana's unique situation and readiness and willingness of the government to pass the legislation, while the opposition remains a stumbling block. They concluded by saying that Mr. Granger and his opposition colleagues must take full responsibility for the foot-dragging and delayed tactics which have resulted in the non-passage of the AML bill. For the Evening News, I'm Gabrielle Batram.
Strike action by unpaid employees has been suspended as the management of Hotel Tower has agreed to pay its workers over the weekend.
After workers mounted protests outside of Hotel Tower on Saturday and Wednesday over unpaid salaries, the management of the entity today decided to pay workers in the next few days. This is according to the Clerical and Commercial Workers Union President Sherwood Clark, who told the Evening News that the decision was arrived at after extensive deliberations with the company's manager.
Mr. Aziz has gave us an assurance that he will reach all the obligation, and some of the workers coming off of the job, it will be a less burden on the company financially, so they won't have this big wage bill facing them on a fortnightly basis.
Clark pointed out that while some of the workers are being paid over the weekend and will return to work on Monday, another set will be parting ways with the company.
We met with the part owner, Salim Aziz, where they some of options on the table where some workers are opted to receive the severance package, and that will be paid within a month's time, and the other set of workers will receive all back payments and they will resume back to work on Monday.
The workers had staged protests on Saturday after they turned up to work and found the doors locked. The company in a release had stated that it had suspended business because it lacked the financial resources to continue operations. The electricity at the hotel was also removed by GPL after the company had failed to pay for the electricity consumed. For the Evening News, Shania Singh.
As co-founder of the Working People's Alliance, UC Koyana continued his testimony at the investigations into the death of Dr. Walter Rodney. Members of the commission today learned that the security forces under the Lyndon Forbes Samson Burnham regime were poised to publicly pledge their allegiance to the head of state. More from Alexis Rodney.
Examining part of the Commission's terms of reference, legal counsel Glenn Hanneman today concluded his questions to Koyana, seeking to ascertain the extent to which state agencies were involved in surveillance activities during that time. Koyana pointed out that all the security forces had access to surveillance intelligence. He said that while President Burnham had become Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Force in October of 1980, he had before served as Minister of Defense. Koyana said that what was notable at the time was the pledge being made to the government of the day.
What was remarkable was that the head of the army would turn up at a party congress, Congress of the People's National Congress, and swear allegiance to the leader.
Which person would have done, which specific named person would have done that?
In that particular year, Mr. Price, but it went on annually. It was an annual feature. It was a Congress feature after that.
He included too the former Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Norman McLean, who along with the former head of the Guyana Police Force, Larry Lewis, was described as a frequent visitor to the annual event. However, they were not the only organizations pledging their service.
They did, yes, they were also there in full force.
Do you know who was the head of the Guyana National Service?
I couldn't tell you who was head in that particular year. At one time, Mr. McLean did serve there, but I don't know where he came from to become Brigadier General. But he did serve in the National Service as well. These are all agencies of obedience.
The issue of security agencies and surveillance was brought up after questions were posed on whether Koyana was of the view that murder-accused Gregory Cyril Johnson Smith had acted on his own when he allegedly gave the bomb in Walkie-Talkie to Walter Rodney on June 13, 1980. Koyana posited that Smith could not have acted alone since, as far as he knew, there was no conflict between the two. He surmised that the government, using its power, had ordered Smith to carry out the act. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rod.
More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Now for some news from the courts. 53-year-old Joyce DeCunha was today remanded after she appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Courts charged for trafficking cocaine before Chief Magistrate Priya Sinarain Bihari. DeCunha was busted with a quantity of cocaine concealed in frozen fish on Wednesday at the Charijagan International Airport. The woman was found with 3.498 kilograms of the illegal substance. Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit Prosecutor Oswald Messiah told the court that the defendant came to Guyana on April 9 and was an outgoing passenger on a Caribbean Airlines flight destined to New York. Messiah said information was received and on-duty officers requested to carry out a search on her luggage. During questioning, it was revealed that someone called Feynman gave her the parcel to drop off to a man in New York. The case was transferred to the Providence Magistrates Court on June 2. In this report, we'll hear now that the United States Embassy and the Guyana's Foreign Affairs Minister earlier today signed the Third Amendment to the Letter of Agreement on the Narcotics Control and Law Enforcement.
The third amendment to the Letter of Agreement, which comes under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, will see the enhancement of Guyana's capabilities in narcotics control and professionalization of law enforcement. The LOA was signed by Foreign Affairs Minister Carolyn Rodriguez Burkett and U.S. Ambassador Brent Hart at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs earlier today. After the signing, Minister Burkett pointed out that the Caribbean government recognized the transnational nature of crime. However, she noted that the region cannot face it alone, hence the need for support given by the United States. She said that the U.S. CBSI program has yielded much success over the years.
Since we have signed the first agreement in 2011, that we have had several successes. The recent provision of some of the boats, Ambassador, I'm sure will aid us as we seek to protect our maritime areas. But there have been several other areas that we've been working in, including at-risk youths, and I know that aspect of the project is being implemented by the CARICOM Secretariat, and there are several other aspects. What would sometimes appear to be an increase of interdiction at our airports and at your airports, Ambassador, I'm sure is also as a result of the multiplicity of training that our law enforcement officers and others have received. And we should not discount this.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Hart noted that despite all that was accomplished over the years through the program, there is still much more work to be done, and that the LOA will allow for that.
At the end of the day, the United States is very much committed to working closely with the government and the people of Guyana to combat illicit trafficking of counter-narcotics and illegal weapons, to advance public safety and security, and to promote social justice. And those are the core goals of the CBSI partnership that we've developed together over the past 3 or 4 years. We want the citizens of Guyana to see the benefits of improved security and social justice in a personal way in their neighborhoods, in their schools, along the rivers and shorelines, and in the marketplace. And the only way to achieve this, as the Minister rightly said, is for our countries to forge a reliable, long-term partnership to build capacities and enhance international collaboration to meet these threats. So as the Caribbean Basin Initiative enters its 4th year, I'm confident that we're on track to meet our common goal of building safer and more secure communities so that the government of Guyana and governments throughout the Caribbean can advance the prosperity and the social justice that they seek for their people.
Apart from the CBSI initiative, there have been several partnerships between the two countries, with Guyana benefiting from programs such as the Sky Project, which has provided training for over 1,000 youths, while over 300 have found full employment.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Denzil Douglas has been appointed the new chairman of the Caribbean Development Bank as the curtains came down on the 44th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank's Board of Governors today. More from Svetlana Marshall.
St. Kitts and Nevis will host the 45th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank's Board of Governors under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Denzil Douglas. Prime Minister Douglas said he will uphold the mantle given to him by the outgoing chairman, Dr. Ashni Singh. In delivering his maiden address, he stressed the importance of change.
The world has changed, the region has changed, and it will continue to change. Thus, in response, the CDB must not only change from within, but it must act as a catalyst for change and adaptation in our Caribbean region. The successful recovery of the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis today is in many ways a result of change, creativity, and innovation of our Caribbean Development Bank.
Meanwhile, CDB President Dr. William Warren Smith, in delivering his closing remarks at the Guyana International Conference Center, said the bank has its eyes set on the establishment of its 2015-2019 strategic plan while reflecting on its past performances.
Management provided an update on the implementation status of measures agreed during the 2013 Governors Roundtable. They urged, and the management concurred, that going forward, the bank should sharpen its focus on a limited number of key priority areas which are consistent with CDB's comparative advantage and our operational capacity.
During the 4-day event, the governor sitting on the board applauded the bank for the significant progress made in improving its risk management framework while placing emphasis on the role played in removing the negative outlook that was created. Like many other countries in the region, Guyana has reaped enormous benefits from CDB, for which Dr. Singh said the country remains grateful.
Back in the courts, Sion Adams, age 22 of Parfit Harmony, West Bank, Demerara, appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court today on a charge of causing death by dangerous driving. He was placed on bail in a sum of $400,000 and will return to court on June 20. The charge follows investigations into a fatal accident that occurred on May 26 on the railway embankment at Bel Air, Georgetown, and which resulted in the death of Faisal Hussain of Success on the east coast of Demerara. Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Ramesh Basod, has issued a call for more women to join the private sector. He made this call during a recent interview with the Evening News. Here are details.
Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Ramesh Basod, has echoed calls made by several other organizations and individuals for more women to join the private sector. In a recent interview with this newscast, he stated that more women need to join the sector, highlighting that presently there is only one female representative on the PSC board.
I don't have a personal problem with more women being part. I mean, I believe that our commission currently only has one representative as a woman, all right? And an increase in the amount of female participation as heads of companies and boards and in the private sector generally would be good. And
he went on to state that women are dominating the educational sector and thus they will definitely need jobs.
I would welcome something of that nature, right? And we do look forward for much more participation. We are aware that much more graduates from the university are females, much more people are completing high school are female, and we would like to see that translated into the top leadership of private companies. And I'm sure in time to come it will happen. So
recently, Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana Dr. Nicole Giles and Minister of Human Services and Social Security Jennifer Webster made calls for more women to join politics and the private and public sectors. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriella Patram.
Attorneys Charles Ramson Jr. and Sanjeev Dattadin have lashed out at insurance companies for applying what they call an unfair business practice against policyholders with what is known in the industry as comprehensive coverage. The attorneys say they intend to challenge the matter in the courts. Insurance companies have now been offering to the comprehensive policyholders as a full and final settlement to their claims on a write-off or constructive total loss a sum of money that usually reflects about 50 to 60% of the value of the sum insured, and then demanding that the policyholder sell their wrecked vehicle in order to recoup the remainder of the value of the insured sum. The lawyers said that it was their aggrieved clients that have brought the practice to their attention. Comprehensive coverage in Guyana essentially means that a company will cover the policyholder against loss or damage of the vehicle insured caused by accidents, fire, burglary, theft, malicious acts, etc., not exceeding the insured estimate of value stated. Robert Greasy, a veteran Marriott employee, is scheduled to officially commence his duties as General Manager of Marriott Guyana on June 1. Details in this report.
A long-serving executive of Marriott International, Roberto Greasy, has been appointed General Manager of the local Marriott Hotel. Greasy will assume his new post from June 1, according to a press release issued by the company on Wednesday. Presently, he is the General Manager of the Ritz-Carlton Aruba, over which he presided since its opening in 2013. Greasy brings a wealth of experience to the position, complemented by a highly respected operational excellence and strong leadership background, after serving in many executive hospitality positions around the globe. He began his career in 1984 in food and beverage and subsequently garnered numerous management positions at several Marriott properties. Most recently, he was the Venezuelan country manager responsible for the successful operations of the 3 renowned Marriott resorts there. He has received many sales and marketing accolades throughout his career, including the prestigious Mustang Award. This new development in the Marriott Hotel saga comes as the Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon lashed out at the continued criticism of the government's decision to invest money from the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited, NISL, into the project. For the Evening News, I'm Gabriella Patram.
Acting Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Ramesh Prasad, has said that the issue brewing out of the motion passed by the parliamentary opposition recently for the reduction of the Berbice River Bridge toll raises the question about the effective public-private partnerships. Alexis Rodney reports.
Prasad, in an exclusive interview with this newscast earlier this week, said that when a situation such as the one raised in the National Assembly arises, it creates a bother to the Commission, which has an interest in the affairs of private investors.
It worries us that the rules of the game are changing in the middle of the game, okay? And that bothers us, all right? For me, it's not the Berbice Bridge or the toll is a major issue. Is that if we are going to partner with the government or the state or anything of that nature to have private businesses be a part of those investments, the rules of the game can change at the middle of the game. We would prefer that, there is some amount of commitment to the contracts and so.
He said the Commission will very much appreciate some amount of commitment to the contract between the major players in the project. On the issue of the Berbice River Bridge and its tolls, Prasad noted that the Berbice Bridge Company will have to look at that issue on its own. He said a motion of such nature threatens the issue of whether government and the state are sticking to their promises made to private investors. The motion to have the tolls reduced at the Berbice River Bridge Company was recently passed in the National Assembly by the two opposition parties, despite government's objection. Works Minister Robson Ben had argued that government could not support the motion since it would go against the rules of private partnership agreements. However, Partnership for National Unity Shadow Finance Minister Carl Greenidge had later said that his party has no underlying issues with the public-private partnership agreement, but was rather concerned with the discriminatory practices surrounding its concept. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
BK Group of Companies yesterday commenced training for 20 youths from the Skills and Knowledge for Youth Empowerment Initiative. More in this report.
BK Group of Companies yesterday commenced training for 20 young men from the Skills and Knowledge for Youth Empowerment Initiative. The apprentices will be part of a 6-month training program at the company's quarries in varying fields, including heavy-duty equipment operators, mechanics, welders, carpenters, and general construction workers. Before the apprentices left, BK's Marketing and Sales Director briefed them.
This is the third year we have been involved in this project, and we have had very favorable results. We're a company that is pleased to be with the project. We've had many of persons that came on board with the company who stayed on after this trial period. They stayed on with us and are now working with the quarry full time. I just want to say to you that it's quite an experience. You will be learning a lot to try to absorb as much as possible.
The SKYE project officer Tamaisha Hendricks, speaking after the briefing, expressed that she was very excited about the program. She said that the BK Group has been working with them from the very inception. The company has been one of the few to sign up and to provide the opportunity for training that many young people would not otherwise be able to access. For the Evening News, Shania Singh.
Trinidad's Minister of Sustainable Development and the Caribbean Development Bank Executive today urged the private sector to take part in the competitiveness of the Americas Forum. More in this report.
October 8th marks the opening of the competitiveness of the Americas Forum. Trinidad's Minister of Planning and Development, Dr. Bowendranath Tiwari, today issued a resounding call for members of the private sector to take part in the forum. Tiwari highlighted that the forum will be a place of opportunity for growth and expansion since investors will be in direct contact with their global financiers.
The ACF, as Mr. Rasmussen told you, as the Chairman told you, is to encourage government leaders of the member countries of the Organization of American States, those countries, of course, in the Americas, to work in partnership with the private sector, with academia and civil society to improve the economic prosperity of their own countries and ensure a brighter future for the people of the Americas.
Tiwari highlighted that the forum, which is slated for Trinidad, will pay attention to several key areas of interest to the private sector.
Trinidad and Tobago is moving from decline in 2009 and 10 to solidify and intensify growth again. And Guyana has moved from its difficult years to a solid growth and inclusive development path over the last 8 years especially. However, many challenges still exist in the region.
Delivering remarks at the luncheon today, Prime Minister Samuel Hines stressed the need for reforms in the energy sector, which will also come up for debate at the forum.
I take the opportunity to express some of my concerns. I think that to some extent I'm concerned that the focus on electricity, justified as it is, may also be distracting us from not looking to the other elements, whatever we do. I had a concern about that.
For the evening news, Shania Singh.
More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the evening. This is the evening news on TVG. Welcome back. A new line of furniture was launched today by Quartz Guyana Inc. Gabriela Patram was there and has the details in this report.
Quartz Guyana Inc. today launched its prestigious brand of Ashley Furniture. The launch took place at the Quartz Main Street branch in Georgetown. Ashley Furniture Industries Inc. is the largest furniture manufacturer in the world and boasts a wide range of beautiful and stylish pieces. Giving brief remarks at the launch was Managing Director of Quartz, Clyde D. Haas, who noted that this new line of furniture will add to the quality of services and products the company brings to Guyana.
I also, standing here in front of everybody, very proud to have our Ashley Gallery open today. We've been with Ashley, as Tracy mentioned, for a few years already. But we're taking it one level higher, and we are the official authorized Ashley retailer, which is a big accomplishment for the Unicoma Group, but also especially for Quartz Guyana.
Meanwhile, Ashley sales representative for the Caribbean, Jesus Desal, explained some of the wonderful features of their furniture.
What the concept for the gallery is. Ashley is the only manufacturer that's in the unique position of being able to provide a dealer with the living room set, the occasional table, the rug, the tabletop decorations, the wall art. So we can provide an entire room for a dealer. We make it very easy for them to merchandise and coordinate it, make it look very good. So the concept behind the gallery is just that, is to make it easy and fun for you to shop for furniture.
The Ashley line of furniture here in Guyana includes dining, sitting, and bedroom pieces. For the evening news, I'm Gabriela Patram.
A former sales representative of Multi-Technology Vision Channel 14 Cable 65 has been arrested after she allegedly kidnapped a 9-year-old baby from Berbice. Baby Khan is said to have committed the act at Port Morant and is now in police custody, this newscast understands. The child was kidnapped last week and the parents have been making several public appeals to the woman to return the child. Police have intensified their investigations into the matter after the woman was found at Zeeburg, West Coast, Demerara, allegedly with the child. Several youth ambassadors from across the Caribbean will be engaging in a 2-day workshop on the Caribbean single market and economy and regional integration movement. More in this report.
The CARICOM youth ambassadors from 12 CARICOM countries and 1 associated states are undergoing an advocacy workshop which will equip them with knowledge so that they can engage their peers on the CSME and regional integration movement. The workshop is facilitated by European Union in association with the Caribbean community. At the opening ceremony, Dean of the CYA, Cindy Marquette, said that the youths are the driving force of any country's economy. She noted that this forum provides the opportunity for youths across the region to interact.
The CSME holds a great potential for young people in the region. We are early adopters of technology, drivers of economic growth, and consumers of Caribbean culture. In short, young people have big ideas about what we want to accomplish, both personally and as a region. The CSME is just one tool that will help us achieve our goals of strong, healthy population.
Meanwhile, a representative of the European Union, Robert Baldwin, noted that CYA is important to regional development. He noted that the European Union has vested interest in regional integration, hence their support to forums such as these. CARICOM's General Secretary Erwin LaRocque told the youths that they are advocates for their countries and their reach is wider than they know.
The aim of this workshop is to sensitize you on issues critical to the success of the CSME and give you the knowledge and tools to engage your peers and other stakeholders with passion and conviction that the integration process, including the CSME, can and does work for them. I urge you to think about how you can distill and deliver this message to them, because you are all critical to the success not only of the CSME, but also the wider integration movement.
Foreign Affairs Minister Caroline Rodriguez-Burkett pointed out that the government has recognized the importance of communicating with the youths since they are the future of the country. The Foreign Affairs Minister noted that Guyana is the best member state with regards to implementation of the CSME.
At the moment, we occupy just about 10% of our territory. So you have 90% of land. You know, we have some people scattered in those areas, but we have an area to develop. And it's not going to be developed with 750,000 people. We would need more people. And so we would need more Caribbean people. We would need others as well. But we must put in place the regime so that when they come here, they don't have to go and line up for a work permit. Or the wife or the husband of the person don't have to go, and line up, and it's at the discretion of the government. It must be automatic.
The workshop is being held as a part of the EU's 10th EDF CSME and Economic Integration Program. Bisham Mohammed, Evening News.
More of the Evening News after this break. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Now some news from the region. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has told Grenadians that they should be prepared to undergo 3 years of tough sacrifice as the island implements a homegrown economic strategy with assistance from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. He urged citizens to recognize that the country has been reeling from the effects of difficult economic times and was faced with high debt, high unemployment and low growth. He said Grenada needed to seek assistance to develop its own program to get on a path to fiscal sustainability and therefore solicited the help of the IMF and other international and regional organizations. Mitchell maintained that the road to recovery is arduous and will require patience. Internationally, President Barack Obama has promised a new U.S. foreign policy based on collective action with allies abroad. The U.S. would still lead, he told graduates at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York, but would avoid the costly mistakes of the past. He said a $5 billion fund to fight global terror and promised the U.S. must not create more enemies than we take off the battlefield. Under attack for a weak foreign policy, he hailed progress in Ukraine and Iran. Obama said skeptics who often downplay the effectiveness of multilateral action and believe that working through international institutions or respecting international law are signs of weaknesses are wrong. The end of the combat mission in Afghanistan at the end of the year would free up resources to tackle emerging threats elsewhere, such as a new $5 billion terrorism partnership fund to help other countries fight extremists. In case you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. We now take a look at your bridge reports. The Damrar Harbour Bridge will be closed on Friday, May 30 at 5 hours for a period of 1.5 hours, and the Burberry Silver Bridge will be closed on Friday, May 30 at 4 hours 55 for a period of 1.5 hours. And for those of you using the ferry service, the Perican Supernam ferries will be departing at 5 hours on Friday, May 30, 2014. Both ferries are also slated to depart their respective locations at 18 hours on Friday, May 30, 2014. So that's after the break for sports, sponsored by Marco. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport, but first the headlines. Nufcoff boxing card built for Buxton this weekend. Demerara Park to host Guinness Football National Playoff, and Kings 11 Chennai looking for IPL final spot. Of course, the sportcast comes to the kind compliments of Macwarp.
We believe that everything worth building should be built just once. That is why we build on culture, on trust, on integrity. We exist to do more, better, faster, safer. Your success depends on the foundation it's built on. Everything we do is meant to move you forward. Macwarp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details. We start off with some boxing news. Buxtonians will be treated to an evening of fistic fury on Saturday when the Guyana Boxing Association stages its second Nufcoff boxing card at the Buxton Friendship Community Centre ground. A total of 15 fights will make up the night's program, with the 3 marquee events involving boxers from Guyana and St. Lucia. According to President of the Guyana Boxing Association, Stephen Inval, there is heightened interest in the activity in the East Coast Demerara village, noting that it will be the first time organized amateur boxing is being staged in the area. Action will get underway at 19 hours, with admission to the venue being $500. Football news. Demerara Park has been confirmed as the venue for this weekend's national playoff of the Guinness Street Football Championship. 8 teams from Georgetown, Linden and East Coast will do battle in the round-robin knockout format, with the teams being divided into 2 groups of 4. The teams are looking to win the national playoff and become Guyana's representative at the Guinness Caribbean Street Challenge next month are Queen Street Tiger Bay, Hope Street Tiger Bay, All Boys Town B and Stevedore Housing Scheme of Georgetown, Eagles, Retrieve Unknowns and Wisma Housing Scheme of Linden, and Melanie A of East Coast. And finally, Chennai Super Kings and the Kings 11 Punjab will square off in qualifiers 2 of the Pepsi IPL tomorrow. The winner of the game, which will bowl off at 10 hours 30, will meet Kolkata Knight Riders in the final bid for Sunday morning. Super Kings, the Chennai Super Kings that will be hunting their 6th IPL final, while the Kings 11 are seeking to enter their first. And with that, we've come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by Macwarp. And with that, we've come to the end of the evening news as well for today, Thursday, May 29, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. From all of us here, it's bye for now.